The unexpected war. No one expected war to come to the quiet edge of the human colony. The planet Kira 7 was supposed to be safe. It was far away from the core worlds and hidden under a sky that was always blue. Human settlers had worked hard for years to build their homes, plant their crops, and believe they were finally free from danger. But one cold morning, everything changed. The warning sirens woke Alex from his sleep before sunrise. He rushed to the window and stared out across the empty fields. In the distance he saw streaks of light cutting through the sky like shooting stars, but moving too fast, too close. He grabbed his boots, his coat, and the old pulse rifle he had never wanted to use. His heart was pounding. He remembered the last words of his father before he left Earth. Never stop being kind, even when the world turns cruel. Alex wondered if today would test that advice. The ground shook as the first explosions hit the outer rim of the colony. He could hear the screams, the panicked shouts from families in the nearby shelter domes. Alex ran outside, dodging falling debris and pushing past his terrified neighbors. He did not recognize the attackers at first. They were like living shadows, tall and armored in dark plates that seemed to absorb the sunlight. Their eyes glowed a pale blue, and strange, thin blades flickered at their sides. He'd heard stories about alien raiders, but he'd never believed them. Now they were real, and they were here. Alex ran to the edge of the small forest behind the shelters, hoping to find a better view of what was happening. He crouched low, barely daring to breathe, as he watched the raiders tear through the village's outer defenses. The few security drones were smashed within seconds. Fires began to spread. Suddenly, Alex heard a faint cry from nearby. He turned, ready to defend himself, but what he saw was not another human, nor a raider. It was someone different, a young alien woman, collapsed in the snow, wounded and shaking. She looked just like the attackers, but smaller, more delicate, and she was bleeding from a wound in her side. Her armor was cracked and her helmet gone, revealing her face-sharp features, pale skin, and those same glowing blue eyes but filled with fear instead of fury. Alex's instincts screamed at him to run. This was the enemy, but her face. She looked terrified, not dangerous. She tried to speak, her voice a strange mix of pain and a language he could not understand. She reached a trembling hand towards him before collapsing into the snow. He hesitated for only a moment. Then, ignoring his fear, Alex rushed to her side. He remembered his father's words, never stop being kind. Gently, he lifted her, surprised by how light she was. She was shivering, her breathing ragged. Suddenly, a group of raiders spotted him. They shouted, raising their weapons. Alex's heart stopped. He had seconds to make a choice: leave her and save himself, or risk everything for this wounded alien girl. He ran, with the girl in his arms. Alex sprinted through the trees, dodging blaster fire. Branches tore at his face and arms. The forest was thick, but he knew every path. He'd grown up here, playing hide and seek as a boy. The alien girl clung weakly to him, blood soaking into his coat. Shots burned through the trees. One grazed his leg, making him stumble, but he did not stop. He heard the angry shouts of the raiders behind him, getting closer with every step. His lungs burned, his arms ached, but he did not let go. Finally, he reached a narrow ravine, hidden by overgrown roots. He slid down, barely holding onto the girl. The raiders searched above but did not see them in the shadows. Alex pressed his back to the cold stone and tried to quiet his breathing. The girl whimpered softly, clutching her side. He tore off his jacket and pressed it to her wound, trying to stop the bleeding. Her eyes locked onto his. She tried to speak again, her voice trembling. This time he understood just one word: why? Why was he helping her? Alex shook his head, not sure how to answer. Was it just kindness? Was it hope that things could be different? Maybe he just couldn't stand to see anyone left to die, not even an enemy. The gunfire slowly faded as the raiders moved on, searching for other targets. Alex waited, his mind racing. He needed to get the girl to safety, but if the other humans saw him with her, they might panic, or worse. Could he trust anyone? And what if she died? Would her people blame him? Would they come back for revenge? The girl was growing weaker. Alex knew he had to act quickly. He wrapped her in his coat and carried her back through the hidden paths, avoiding the main roads. He moved carefully, making sure no one saw him. The village was in chaos. People were hiding, fires burning, alarms blaring. No one noticed one human sneaking into a storage shed on the edge of the colony. Inside, Alex laid the girl on a pile of old blankets. He found a first aid kit and did his best to patch her wound, his hands shaking. He'd never treated an alien before. Her blood was a strange blue, her skin colder than his own. She flinched at every touch but did not push him away. All night, Alex watched over her. He listened to the distant sounds of battle, wondering if he'd made the right choice. The girl drifted in and out of sleep, whispering words he could not understand. Sometimes she reached for his hand, holding on as if afraid he'd leave her alone. By morning, the fighting had died down. The raiders were gone, but the village was a ruin. Alex peered outside, wondering what would happen next. He had saved an enemy's life, but at what cost? Would the other humans understand? Would the alien girl's people return for her? And most of all, could kindness really survive in a world now changed by war? As the sun rose over the battered colony, Alex knew only one thing for sure: nothing would ever be the same again. And somewhere in the shadows, the wounded alien girl opened her eyes and saw her human protector watching over her, as the first fragile bond between two worlds was born in blood and hope. Lysra woke to the sound of strange voices. For a moment, she didn't know where she was. The smell was wrong. The light was wrong. Everything was unfamiliar. Her side hurt, but not as much as before. She tried to sit up and gasped as pain shot through her body. She remembered the fight, the fire, the shouting, the humans. Most of all, she remembered the human boy with worried eyes, the one who had picked her up and run into the forest. Had it all been a dream? Alex was there, kneeling beside her. His clothes were stained with dirt and blood, his own and hers. He looked tired but relieved to see her awake. He smiled, awkward but genuine. "You're safe now," he said softly, hoping she'd understand. "Don't try to move too much." Lysra didn't know the words, but his voice was gentle. She stared at him, searching for signs of cruelty or deception. In her world, enemies never showed kindness. She had been taught that humans were selfish, always thinking of themselves. So why had this one risked his life for her? She looked down. At her side, her armor was gone, her wound bandaged with strange, soft cloth. She felt weak, but she could move her fingers. She tested her strength, glancing around. They were inside a small, dark place filled with old crates, tools, and blankets. A human storage shed. She could see the fear in Alex's eyes, but it wasn't fear of her. He seemed afraid of what others might do if they found her here. Footsteps passed outside. Alex tensed, holding his breath. He whispered something she didn't understand, then pointed to the corner, making a gesture stay quiet. Lysra nodded. She listened to the footsteps fade away, feeling her heart race. Even though she was weak, she reached for the blade at her belt. It was gone. She looked at Alex with suspicion, but he shook his head, showing her both as empty hands. He had not taken her weapon. It was lost in the forest, somewhere far away. She realized then that she was truly at his mercy. Alex brought her water in a small cup, offering it carefully. Lysra hesitated. What if it was poison? She watched him drink a little first, then handed it back to her. Slowly she drank, feeling the cold liquid soothe her dry throat. For a moment there was silence. Outside, the village was in ruins. Smoke drifted over the rooftops. Lysra heard distant shouting, humans looking for survivors, for lost loved ones, or maybe searching for the attackers. She wondered if any of her own kind remained nearby. Her people, the Dayani, were proud and fierce, never taking prisoners, never leaving anyone behind. Would they come back for her? Or had they given her up for dead? Alex checked her bandages again, careful not to hurt her. Lysra watched his hands. They were strong but gentle, not like the hard, clawed fingers of her own kind. She wondered if he was afraid of her. After all, she was still a Dayani, a warrior race. But he didn't look scared. He looked worried. Maybe even guilty. She tried to speak, her words slow and heavy. "Why, save me." Her accent was thick, but Alex understood. He looked away, uncertain. He thought about his father's words, about kindness and how easy it would have been to leave her in the snow. But something inside him couldn't do it. He couldn't watch someone die, not even an enemy. "You needed help," he said, keeping his words simple. "You were hurt. I couldn't leave you." Lysra was quiet. In her world, showing mercy was weakness. But here, with this strange human, she began to wonder if mercy could be something different. As the hours passed, Lysra rested. Alex kept watch. By the door, listening for trouble. He heard angry voices. Some humans wanted revenge. Others were scared, blaming the aliens for everything. Alex stayed hidden, afraid of what would happen if they found Lysra. Soon, Lysra's strength began to return. She forced herself to sit up, watching Alex carefully. She studied his face, looking for answers. He seemed young, maybe just a few years older than she was. His eyes were a dark brown, not cold and sharp like her sister's, but warm, always moving, always searching for danger. She pointed to his leg. He was limping, and blood stained his trousers. Alex shrugged it off, but Lysra could see the pain in his eyes. She reached out, surprising herself, and touched his wound. He flinched, but didn't pull away. For a moment, they sat in silence too. Enemies, both bleeding, both alone. In the afternoon, Lysra heard a sound she recognized, a high metallic whistle. It was the signal of her people. She froze, listening, heart pounding. Alex noticed her fear. He moved closer to the door, peeking outside. From the edge of the village, 3 Dayani warriors emerged from the shadows. They wore dark armor and moved like ghosts, silent and deadly. They searched the ruins, their sharp eyes scanning everything. Lysra's breath caught in her throat. These were her sisters Kalia, fierce and proud, and the twins, Mira and Sira, both known for their loyalty and strength. Alex saw them too, realizing they were looking for someone. He turned to Lysra, his face tense. "Your people?" he whispered. Lysra nodded, eyes wide. She didn't know what to do. If her sisters found her with a human, what would they think? Would they attack Alex? Would they think she was a traitor? Suddenly, Kalia shouted a command in the Dayani language. Mira and Sira spread out, searching every building. Lysra knew. It was only a matter of time before they found her. She turned to Alex, panic in her eyes. He looked at her, torn between fear and determination. "I'll protect you," he promised, even though he knew it might cost him everything. Minutes felt like hours as the Dayani closed in. Mira was the first to spot the shed. She signaled to her sisters. Kalia stepped forward, blade drawn, and opened the door. The moment Kalia saw Lysra, her expression changed from anger to shock. She rushed to her sister's side, dropping her weapon. "Lysra, are you alive?" she cried in their native tongue. Lysra nodded weakly. "I'm alive." "Because of him," she said, pointing to Alex. Kalia's eyes narrowed. She turned to Alex. "Studying him, you saved my sister?" She spoke slowly, her accent rough but understandable. Alex nodded. Not sure what else to do. Mira and Sira entered, both surprised to see Lysra alive and even more surprised to see a human tending her wounds. They whispered to each other, confusion in their eyes. For a long moment, no one spoke. The shed was filled with tension, as if the whole world was waiting to see what would happen next. Finally, Kalia lowered her blade. "Why?" she asked, echoing her sister's question. Alex struggled to answer. "Because." "She needed help," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "She would have died." The Dayani sisters looked at each other, unsure what to do. This was not what they had expected. In their world, enemies did not show mercy. But here was a human, wounded and afraid, who had risked his life for their own. As the sun began to set, a fragile peace settled over the shed. For the first time, Lysra felt hope, not just for herself, but for something bigger. Maybe, just maybe, things could change. But as darkness fell, Lysra and her sisters knew that this was only the beginning. The human had bled for her. Now, all their futures were bound together by blood, by mercy, and by the secrets hidden beneath the surface. The night felt heavier than usual. Inside the small shed, Alex sat quietly, watching the three alien sisters with growing tension. Lysra had managed to sit up, her strength slowly returning, but she looked just as anxious as Alex did. Her sisters, Kalia, Mira, and Sira, kept whispering in their own language, stealing glances at the human who had saved Lysra's life. Alex had never felt so out of place in his own world. The Dayani sisters were taller than humans, with sleek armor that seemed to shift colors with every movement. Their eyes glowed softly, even in the dark. Mira and Sira, the twins, moved in perfect harmony, every step, every look, perfectly mirrored, as if they shared the same thoughts. Kalia, the eldest, had a scar across her cheek and a steady, proud gaze that rarely left Alex's face. He could feel their suspicion. He tried to ignore the pain in his leg as he stood to offer Lysra a cup of water. Kalia stepped forward, blocking his way with a sudden motion. The tension in the air grew thick. "No closer," Kalia said in halting human speech. "You help, but you are not our kind." Alex nodded, not wanting to upset her. He set the cup on the floor and stepped back. "She's still weak," he said gently. "She needs rest. And food." Kalia's eyes narrowed. "Why help? Why risk your blood for her?" Her voice was almost a growl. Alex shrugged, searching for words. "No one should die alone," he said quietly. "Not if I can help it." Mira whispered something to Sira. The twins looked at Lysra, who was watching Alex with a strange mix of gratitude and worry. Kalia crouched by Lysra's side, speaking in their language. Alex could not understand the words, but the meaning was clear. She was checking for injuries, asking questions, trying to understand what had happened. Lysra replied softly, her voice trembling as she spoke about the battle, the wound, and how Alex had carried her to safety. Kalia listened, her expression unreadable. Finally, she turned to Mira and Sira and nodded. The twins put down their weapons and relaxed, but they did not take their eyes off Alex. The night outside grew colder. Sounds of distant shouting drifted through the cracks in the shed walls. Humans searching for survivors, searching for lost friends or family, some crying for revenge against the Dayani. Alex's heart ached for his people, but he couldn't ignore the pain in the faces of the sisters before him. Kalia finally broke the silence. "We must go soon. If humans find us, it will be war again." Alex looked down, feeling helpless. "She's too weak," he said, glancing at Lysra. "If you move her now, she might not survive." Sira stepped forward. Her voice was sharp. "You say you care for her. Prove it. Let us go." Alex hesitated, looking at Lysra. "If you go out there now, it's dangerous for all of you. Let her rest until morning, please." For a long moment, the sisters said nothing. Then Lysra spoke, surprising everyone. "Stay safe with Alex, for now. Kalia looked at her sister, then at Alex. She did not want to trust a human, but Lysra's plea was hard to refuse. Kalia finally nodded. We stay, but if you lie, if you harm her. She let the threat hang in the air. Alex shook his head. I won't, I promise. The sisters took turns tending to Lysra. Mira found a container of food, simple bread and dried fruit from Alex's emergency rations. Sierra boiled water over a small heater, making a weak tea that helped warm everyone's hands. As the hours passed, the fear began to fade, replaced by an awkward silence. Alex tried not to stare at the sisters, but he couldn't help being curious. They were so different from humans, so strong and confident, but also protective of each other in a way he had never seen before. When one sister spoke, the others listened. When one reached for food, the others waited their turn. Kalia sat near the door, always alert, her hand never far from her blade. Mira and Sierra whispered together, sometimes giggling softly at some private joke. Even Lysra, despite her pain, smiled at her sister's bickering. Suddenly, a shout echoed close by. Footsteps several. Humans were moving through the alley behind the shed. Kalia drew her blade and gestured for silence. Alex pressed a finger to his lips, holding his breath. A beam of light swept across the window. Someone pounded on the door, making everyone jump. Anyone in there? Open up. We're searching for wounded. A rough voice called out. Kalia tensed, ready to fight. Mira and Sierra moved to shield Lysra, crouching low. Alex shook his head quickly. No fighting. Let me handle it, he whispered. He walked to the door, heart pounding, and opened it just enough to poke his head out. 3 human men, armed and exhausted, stood outside. Their faces were hard. He recognized one as a farmer from the next field over. We're checking for survivors. Anyone hurt? The man asked, shining his light inside. Alex tried to stay calm. Just me. I took a hit during the raid. No one else here. He lied, keeping his body between the men and the sisters. The men frowned, looking past him into the shadows. We're not looking for just humans. They say some of those things aliens are still hiding. You seen anything? Alex shook his head. Just smoke and ruins, he replied, forcing a weak laugh. Honestly, I just want to rest. The men exchanged glances. Fine, lock your doors tonight. If you see anything, call for help. They moved on, searching the next building. Alex shut the door, his hands shaking. He turned to find the sisters watching him, Kalia with suspicion, Lysra with relief, Mira and Sierra with a new kind of respect. You risk much for us, Kalia said slowly. Why? Alex just smiled, tired. Because someone has to. For the rest of the night, the small shed became a world apart. Humans and Dayani, enemies by blood, sharing food and silence. The sisters started to see Alex not as a threat, but as something else, a protector, maybe even a friend. Mira and Sierra, always the curious ones, asked Alex about human life, their questions halting but genuine. Kalia watched, never letting down her guard, but she listened too. As the first light of dawn crept through the window, Alex felt something shift in the air. The war had not ended, but for the first time, hope had begun to grow, even if only in this tiny hidden corner of the world. But with morning would come new challenges, and none of them knew how long their fragile peace could last. The sun climbed higher, sending pale rays through the cracks of the old shed. Alex sat awake, his eyes heavy but his mind alert. The Dayani sisters moved quietly around him, their every action filled with purpose. After a long, tense night, Lysra finally slept peacefully, watched over by Myra and Sierra. Only Kalia stayed on her feet, pacing like a silent wolf, her gaze never far from Alex. Alex felt their eyes on him all the time. He could sense that his actions, every word and movement, were being measured. He was a human among aliens, no longer just a protector, but now the focus of their careful study. It made him nervous, but he hid it well. Kalia broke the silence. First, you risked much for Lysra, but words can be easy, she said. Diani believe in proof. Alex didn't fully understand, but he could hear the challenge in her voice. What kind of proof? He asked quietly. Myra and Sira exchanged a glance, both smiling in a way that made Alex uneasy. Mira explained, her accent softening the words. Among Diani, only those who pass the tests can be trusted. Alex sat up straighter. What kind of tests? Sira grinned. We test strength, mind, and heart, to see who you are. Not just what you say. Kalia nodded. We lost trust in promises long ago. She pointed to his bandaged leg. Can you walk? Alex forced a smile. If I couldn't, I wouldn't be here. Mira gestured for him to follow. Come outside, human. Her voice was gentle, but Alex heard the iron underneath. He glanced at Lysra, who was still asleep, then got to his feet and followed the sisters out into the cold morning. The air outside was sharp, carrying the smell of smoke and burned metal. From the destroyed village, the fields looked empty, but Alex knew there could be angry humans searching for revenge, or hidden dangers from the Diani's enemies. The sisters led him to a quiet corner near the tree line. Kalia stopped and faced him, her arms crossed. Mira and Sira stood on either side, looking almost identical, their expressions unreadable. Kalia spoke first. Strength. In Diani culture, we test strength not to hurt, but to understand who will stand in battle and who will run. She tossed him a short wooden staff. Defend yourself. Alex blinked, uncertain, but gripped the staff tightly. Kalia attacked with quick, precise movements, never aiming to injure but testing his reactions. Alex moved awkwardly at first, still feeling the ache in his wounded leg, but he held his ground. Kalia's strikes were strong, but he managed to block or dodge most of them. Once, she knocked him off balance, but Alex didn't give up. Got back up, grit his teeth, and stood ready again. After a few minutes, Kalia stepped back and nodded, a hint of respect in her eyes. You do not break easily. Mira stepped forward next. Now the mind. She drew a strange puzzle from her belt, a ring of colored stones with spinning parts. In Diani, solving this shows patience and intelligence. Alex took the puzzle, feeling clumsy as he turned the pieces. The twins watched in silence. At first, the colors seemed random, but as he worked, he saw pattern shapes that fit together if you looked at them differently. The test was frustrating, but Alex remembered something his father had said. Don't rush. Breathe. The answer is there, even if you can't see it yet. After what felt like forever, Alex clicked the last stone into place. The puzzle glowed softly. Mira and Sira exchanged surprised glances. Sira leaned forward. You do not give up easily. That is rare, even among Diani. Finally, Kalia spoke again. Last test, the heart. She handed him a small knife and pointed to a thin vine climbing a nearby tree. Diani tradition says to cut the vine, but only if it means life for another. We believe in sacrifice not for ourselves, but for others. What would you give for those you protect? Alex stared at the knife, thinking of the choices he'd made. He remembered leaving his home to help strangers, risking his own safety to carry Lysra through the snow, lying to his own people to keep her safe. Slowly, he cut the vine, not in anger, but with care, and offered the piece to Kalia. I'd give what I have. Even if it's not much, Alex said, voice quiet but steady. Kalia looked at him for a long time. Mira and Sira waited, silent and serious. You have passed our tests, Kalia said at last, her voice softer than before. You are not Diani, but you are not like other humans, either. Alex let out a breath he didn't realize he was holding. So, do you trust me? Now, Sira tilted her head. We trust you more. But trust is slow, like water wearing down a stone. The sisters led Alex back to the shed. Lysra was awake now, her eyes bright as she watched them return. She looked at Alex with concern. They did not hurt you. He shook his head and smiled. No, they just wanted to know who I am. Lysra looked at her sisters, something unspoken passing between them. Mira and Sira both smiled and came to sit beside her. Even Kalia relaxed a little, her hand finally leaving the hilt of her blade. For the first time, the mood in the shed felt lighter. The sisters began to share stories in broken human language about their childhood, their clan, and the trials they faced to become warriors. Alex listened with growing respect. The Dayani were different, but their courage and loyalty reminded him of his own family back on Earth. As the sun warmed the world outside, Alex felt a new connection forming, not just with Lysra, but with all her sisters. The tension of the night was gone, replaced by cautious hope, but even as laughter returned to their small circle, trouble was brewing outside. Angry voices could be heard in the village. Someone had found strange tracks near the edge of the fields. The humans were growing suspicious, searching every building, every shed. Kalia looked at Alex, her eyes dark with worry. Soon we cannot hide. Alex nodded, feeling the weight of their situation. The tests were over, but the real challenge was just beginning. The bond between Alex and the sisters was now sealed by trial and trust. But in a world filled with suspicion and fear, would it be enough to survive the next storm? Night settled over the battered colony like a heavy blanket. The shed where Alex and the Dayani sisters hid felt smaller than ever. Shadows danced on the walls as the fire outside died, and the only sound was Lysra's gentle breathing and the distant, angry voices of searching humans. Inside, no one slept well. Alex lay on his side, eyes open, listening to the wind rattle the old boards. He thought about everything that had happened in the last 2 days. He wondered if saving Lysra had been the right thing, or if he had made things worse for everyone. Each time he closed his eyes, he saw his neighbors' faces, twisted with fear and anger. He had lied to them. What if they found out the truth? Would they ever forgive him? Lysra watched Alex from her blanket. She felt better now, though still weak. The tests had changed something between Alex and her sisters, but not everything. She was grateful for Alex's kindness, but also afraid. What if he decided he could not protect her anymore? What if his own people turned on him? Mira and Sira lay side by side, whispering quietly in their own language. Sometimes they giggled softly, as if sharing a secret only twins could understand. But tonight, their voices were tight with worry. The humans search everywhere, Mira whispered. Kalia says we must be ready to run. Kalia sat by the door, her hand always close to her blade. She looked out through a crack in the wood, watching the village. She did not trust the quiet. Kalia's mind was racing. Should she take her sisters and escape into the forest, or trust Alex one more night? Suddenly, angry voices grew louder outside. Heavy boots crunched on gravel. Alex's heart started pounding as he heard men arguing. Nearby, there's something strange in that shed, I swear it. Saw shadows moving, maybe it's one of them, hiding. I told you already, we checked that place. And I say we check again. Better safe than sorry. Alex sat up, panicked. They're coming, he whispered. Kal withdrew her blade. Mira and Sira gripped their weapons. Lysra struggled to her feet, fear in her eyes. Alex looked at them and shook his head. No fighting. If you fight, they'll bring more. He thought quickly. Hide. Behind the crates now. The sisters obeyed, moving with silent grace. Lysra squeezed Alex's hand before slipping into the darkness. There was a loud knock. Open up. We know you're in there. Alex opened the door just a crack, forcing a tired smile. Sorry, I was just sleeping. What's wrong? 3 men stood outside, faces grim, each holding a blaster. One pushed past Alex, shining a light into the shed. We've had reports of movement. Aliens, maybe. Have you seen anything? Alex tried to act surprised. No, just me. I locked up after you all left last time. It's been a long night. The men didn't look convinced. They searched the small room, poking at boxes and crates. One even tapped on the back wall. For a terrifying moment, Alex thought he saw Myra's foot sticking out. He stepped in front, coughing loudly to draw their attention. "You're welcome to check, but I'd appreciate not having my things tossed around. That's all I have left." The leader glared at him. "We're just doing our job, son. Don't want any of those monsters hiding here." Alex swallowed hard. "I understand." After another tense minute, the men left, grumbling. Alex shut the door, his hand shaking. He waited until their voices faded before motioning for the sisters to come out. Lysra hugged him, trembling. "Thank you," she whispered. The sisters gathered around, relief mixing with fear. Kalia put a hand on Alex's shoulder. "You risk much." "Why do this for us?" Alex hesitated. He looked at Lysra, then at each of her sisters. "Because I believe you're not monsters. You're people. And you saved my life too, when you could have let me die in the forest. We're even now." For the first time, Kalia smiled, a quick, fierce smile that faded fast. "You are different, Alex." But doubt lingered. Mira spoke quietly. "Even if you trust us, will your people? If we are found, they will kill us all, maybe you too." The silence grew heavy. Sira, ever practical, said, "We must leave soon. We cannot put Alex in danger any longer." Lysra's eyes filled with tears. She didn't want to leave. She felt safe with Alex in a way she had never felt with anyone outside her family. But she knew her sisters were right. Outside, a sudden shout pierced the night, a new alarm louder. And more urgent than before, the sisters froze. Alex moved to the window and peered out. Fires burned in the distance. Shadows moved, fast and silent, not like the tired, angry human search parties. Lysra gasped. "Not Dayani, different." Kalia stared into the darkness. "Rival clan, not ours. They hunt us." The rival aliens swept into the village, attacking without warning. Blasters lit the night as humans and rival aliens clashed in the open streets. Alex saw people he knew running for their lives. "They're attacking everyone." He shouted. "Not just you." Kalia's jaw clenched. "We cannot stay hidden. We must help, or more will die." Alex's mind raced. "If we go out, humans might see you as the enemy." Lysra touched his hand. "We help, maybe they see truth." Alex made a quick decision. "Stay together. Watch each other's backs. If you're seen, stay close to me." The group slipped out into the chaos. Fires lit the sky, and screams filled the air. Rival aliens, bigger and more brutal than the Dayani, tore through the village, destroying everything. Humans fired blindly, hitting friend and foe alike. Alex and the sisters moved like shadows, working together as a team. Kalia's blade flashed in the firelight, cutting down attackers that came too close. Mira and Sira fought back to back, their movements perfectly timed. Lysra, still weak but determined, used her smaller blade to defend Alex. Alex found himself fighting side by side with the Dayani, no longer seeing them as aliens but as comrades. He shouted for his neighbors to run for safety, dragging wounded humans to cover. The sisters did the same, protecting anyone they could, whether human or Dayani. For a moment, in the chaos and fire, it didn't matter what planet you were from, only who you chose to stand beside. As the rival aliens retreated, driven off by the combined human and Dayani defense, a strange quiet settled over the smoking ruins. The surviving humans gathered, staring at the Dayani sisters with wide eyes, not sure whether to thank them or fear them. One old woman stepped forward, trembling. "That one, she saved my grandson." She pointed at Lys Ra. Others nodded, whispering among themselves. The line between enemy and friend was no longer so clear, but as the night faded, new doubts arose. Would the humans accept the sisters? Or would old fears return? Would the fragile trust Alex had built survive the dawn? Inside, Alex, Lysra, Kalia, Mira, and Sira huddled together, exhaustion pulling at their bones. They had survived another night, but they all knew tomorrow would bring new choices and more danger. The price of kindness and trust was higher than ever, but in the darkness, Alex found hope in Lysra's tired smile and the warmth of her sisters gathered around him. For now, that was enough. Smoke still lingered in the morning air. The village was battered, but there was a short silence like the world was catching its breath. Alex stood near the ruined shed, watching the sunrise with Lysra and her sisters. Everyone looked tired, their faces marked by fear and exhaustion. The night's chaos had brought humans and Dayani together for a few hours, but now the fragile alliance hung by a thread. Some humans stood in groups, glaring at the Dayani sisters, uncertain whether to thank them or push them away. Others looked at Alex with suspicion, wondering if he had turned traitor. No one spoke to him, but he felt their stares like daggers in his back. Kalia stood tall, her chin lifted. She met every human gaze with cold confidence, daring anyone to challenge her. Mira and Sira moved quietly, tending to Lysra's still healing wounds. Alex tried to keep his head down, helping wherever he could, giving water to the wounded, collecting food, patching up torn walls. He didn't want to fight, but he was ready if one came. Suddenly, a sharp cry echoed from the edge of the village. Alex spun around. A group of rival aliens bigger, more savage than the Dayani emerged from the trees, weapons raised, their faces twisted in anger. They had come back for revenge, everyone inside. Alex shouted, grabbing Lysra's arm. But Kalia was already moving, sword in hand, blocking the path between the attackers and the villagers. The rival aliens charged, firing at anyone in their way. Humans panicked, running for cover. The Dayani sisters stood their ground, forming a tight circle around Alex and the villagers who were too hurt to move. "We fight together," Kalia said, voice steady. Alex nodded, fear racing through him. But he didn't run. He grabbed a fallen blaster, holding it with shaking hands. Mira and Sira fought back to back, blocking enemy strikes with perfect teamwork. Lysra, weak but determined, defended Alex with her blade. The first wave of rivals crashed into their circle. The fight was wild and fast. Alex fired at the nearest alien, missing twice before finally hitting one in the leg. Kalia spun, her sword flashing in the sunlight, driving another attacker away from a wounded child. Mira knocked an enemy to the ground with a kick. Sira used her blade to protect a frightened old man, never letting the rivals get close. But the attackers kept coming. Alex's arms ached from holding the blaster. Blood from his old wound trickled down his leg, but he refused to stop. Lysra moved closer to him, blocking an alien strike that would have hit his head. The humans, seeing the sisters fight so bravely, slowly joined in. A farmer picked up a stone and threw it at an attacker. A teenager swung a broken pipe, knocking a rival away from a shelter door. Fear turned to courage as people realized they were stronger together. Suddenly, Kalia shouted, "Behind you!" Alex turned just in time to see a rival alien raise a blade toward Lysra. Without thinking, Alex threw himself in front of her. The blade cut into his arm, burning with pain, but he forced himself to fight back. Mira and Sira rushed to help, pushing the attacker away. Blood ran down Alex's arm, but he gritted his teeth and kept going. Lysra's eyes filled with tears, but she refused to let fear stop her. She fought harder, her every move protecting Alex as much as he had protected her. Bit by bit, the defenders pushed the rival aliens back. The attackers realized the humans and Dayani would not break, not this time. One by one, the rivals retreated, dragging their wounded with them. The village fell quiet again, the only sound the heavy breathing of the survivors. Alex fell to his knees, dizzy from pain, exhaustion. Lysra knelt beside him, pressing her hands over his bleeding arm. "You saved me." "Again," she whispered, voice thick with emotion. Kalia crouched nearby, her face softening for the first time. "You fought like a Dayani warrior," she said. Mira and Sira knelt beside Alex as well. "We see you now, Alex," Mira said gently, "not just as human, but as one of us." Around them, the other humans slowly approached. An old woman, the same one whose grandson Lysra had saved, knelt beside Alex. She pressed a rag to his wound, tears in her eyes. "You saved us all," she whispered. "I was wrong about you. I was wrong about them." Others nodded, some still afraid, but most now grateful. Kalia stood and turned to the gathered humans. She spoke in broken human language, her voice strong. "We came in war, but we fight now for peace. Let this day be different." There was a long silence. Then, slowly, a farmer stepped forward, offering Kalia his hand. "You fought for us. That means something." One by one, others joined, some shaking hands, some simply nodding. The barrier between human and Dayani, so strong just a day ago, was starting to break, but Alex was fading, his wound bleeding badly. Lysra pressed her hand tighter to his arm. "Stay with me," she begged. Kalia knelt and looked Alex in the eyes. "You risked your life for Lysra, and for us. Let us risk ours for you now." Mira and Sira tore strips from their clothing to make a tight bandage. Lysra, her hands trembling, whispered a Dayani blessing for strength. Alex felt the world spin, but the warmth of the sisters beside him kept him awake. As the sun climbed higher, the rival aliens finally vanished into the forest. The village was battered, but the people inside were alive, together, and changed forever. For the first time, humans and Dayani stood side by side, not as enemies, but as survivors. Alex looked up at Lysra, Kalia, Mira, and Sira. He saw pride, hope, and something like love in their eyes. He smiled, even through the pain. They had fought for survival. And against all odds, they had found something even stronger than fear. Trust. The air was quiet at last. Smoke drifted above the battered colony, but the cries of war had faded, leaving only the sounds of survivors picking up the pieces. In the ruined village square, Alex lay propped against the wall of the old shed, his injured arm tightly bandaged with cloth torn from Myra's tunic. Every movement ached, but he was alive. Lysra sat close, refusing to leave his side. Mira and Sira watched over him, one on each side, while Kalia stood nearby, keeping guard over all of them. The humans and Dayani moved around each other carefully. There was still fear and suspicion, but the worst of it had been burned away in the night's battle. Now curiosity and gratitude grew where hatred had once lived. Alex blinked in the pale morning sun, watching the sisters. He felt the weight of everything that had happened, how he had saved Lysra, fought for her, and bled for her people. He remembered the first time he saw her, helpless in the snow, and how one small act of kindness had changed his life forever. He looked at Lysra and managed a tired smile. "You're safe now," he said, voice hoarse. Lysra squeezed his hand. "Because of you. You are our protector." Kalia stepped forward, her face proud but softer than before. "Alex, you have earned the respect of my clan. You bled for Lysra and for all of us. In Dayani law, that means you are now one of our own." Alex was surprised. "One of you?" Mira nodded, her eyes bright. "You passed our tests. You fought like a sister, and you showed mercy, something our world needs." Sira grinned, nudging her twin. "We talked all night. You are chosen, Alex, not just by Lysra, but by us all." Alex blushed, feeling the eyes of the sisters on him. The warmth in their smiles, the gentle way they touched his bandaged arm, made him realize how much they cared. It was more than just friendship. He felt something new, a sense of belonging, and a promise of something deeper. The humans in the village began to gather, drawn by the sight of the Dayani sisters and their strange new bond with Alex. The old woman, whose grandson Lizra had saved, approached first. "Is it true?" she asked quietly. "Did you really protect us, all of you?" Kalia nodded. "We fought for your people, as Alex fought for ours." The woman hesitated, then took Kalia's hand. "Then you are welcome here." She looked at Alex and smiled. "Thank you for showing us what is possible." Other villagers came forward. Some apologized for their anger. Others offered food or water, or simply a nod of respect. For the first time since the invasion, hope filled the broken streets. But with hope came a choice. The Dayani sisters knew their clan would want them back, and they would expect Lizra to explain why she had chosen to trust a human. Alex knew he could not stay hidden forever. Soon, both worlds would demand answers. That evening, as the sky turned gold, Lizra and her sisters gathered around Alex. Kalia spoke first, her tone serious. "We must return to our people. They will ask for your story, Alex. They may not understand your kindness at first." Alex nodded, swallowing hard. "And what about you? Will they let you stay with humans?" Lizra reached for his hand, her touch gentle. "I will stay with you. If my sisters wish it, they may stay too, or return to our clan and speak of peace." Mira and Sira looked at each other, then at Kalia. "We will not leave you, Lizra. We are strongest together." Kalia smiled a real smile, proud and fierce. "You are chosen, Alex. You have our loyalty. If our clan wants war, we will teach them another way." Alex felt a wave of emotion, fear, excitement, and something like love. He had never expected to become part of something bigger than himself. Now he stood at the center of two worlds. Word spread quickly through the colony and beyond. The human who bled for the Dayani had not only survived, but had been accepted as one of them. Some doubted the story. Others feared what it might mean for the future. But most saw it as a sign that things could change. Days passed. Lizra cared for Alex's wounds, helping him heal. Kalia met with human leaders, explaining the truth of the night's battle. Mira and Sira worked to build trust, teaching the villagers simple Dayani words and sharing food. Suspicion faded, and slowly, trust grew. One night under the stars, Lizra sat with Alex on a hill outside the village. She looked at him, her eyes glowing in the moonlight. "You saved me," she whispered. "Now my sisters and I want you to choose." Alex smiled. "Choose what?" Lizra leaned closer, her voice soft. "Will you come with us? Will you help us build peace between our people? Will you be one of us, not just in battle, but in life?" Alex thought of everything he had lost and everything he had found. He thought of the fear, the hope, and the strength he had seen in Lizra and her sisters. He took her hand, his answer clear. "Yes, I choose you. I choose all of you." The sisters embraced him, laughter and joy echoing across the fields. 4. The first time in his life, Alex felt truly at home. As dawn broke over Kira 7, a new alliance was born, not from power, but from courage, sacrifice, and the kind of love that changes everything. Alex and the Dayani sisters would face many more challenges, but together, they were stronger than any fear. And in that new day, the colony looked to the future with hope, knowing that even in the darkest of times, kindness and courage could unite even the most distant worlds.